Meeting Jaqual. July 30, 2014. September 3, 1996. Dear Commander Maltese, I have felt your call of several days, but I have not answered. It is still difficult for me to integrate multidimensional consciousness into my third-dimensional world, but I am working on being conscious in many realities at one moment. I am ready to receive another message. We are glad that you are receiving our call. We aboard the ship are always on alert to ones who are able to hold a conscious connection to our vibration. It does not matter at this point in your time if you are receiving a language message. Just to feel our presence is of a very great service to the galactic beings of the Ashtar Command. We are so appreciative of the embodied ones who are receiving our call via their third-dimensional Earth vessel. Those of you who can perceive our call are acting as step-down transformers to ground our multidimensional message in your physical world. The grounding of our message in Gaia's physical Earth is a very special event. Are you aware that there are beings from the accelerated vibration of the 12th dimension that are placing their direct attention on the happenings of your solar ring? You are so fortunate to be incarnated at this moment in your time. We remember when we were comrades in the Great Orion Wars. You were so brazen as a man. In your present life, you anchor that portion of your soul who enjoys giving yourself permission to release all reason and restraint to feel the complete freedom of action without consequences. However, eventually the consequences do catch up with you. You are now in the process of solving the question of how can you allow the complete release of free and unlimited thoughts and actions while still in physical body without a storm of emotions. And then, these emotions bring forward reactions that make you sorry that you ever took that risk. But in the final telling, the consequences were not of the same powerful impact as that beautiful moment of freedom. That moment in which you could soar above all limitation and become a portion of yourself that is not captive of the rules of the third dimension, was well worth the payment of uncomfortable emotions. Now Suzil, you can join with your inner wild woman and allow her to take the lead. She is the portion of yourself that is the most masculine and, therefore, the portion that will be the first to embrace androgyny. We ask that both male and female third-dimensionals embrace the goddess within your heart and mind to raise her from her slumber. Congratulations, dear Earthlings. The moment to embrace your Mother Earth is now. 5 months passed between these communications. I have no idea what occurred within that time span. If time is so important, then why do we continue to lose it? February 21, 1997. Dear Commander Maltese, there is no greater enemy than one's own fears, and it takes a brave warrior to face them. I heard this line on television and it reminded me of you, finally. I thought of you and the part of myself that is your comrade and fellow warrior. I realize that I have been unable to face that component of myself because I hold shame my brutality in past lives. I was still only thinking in time then. Finally, I am ready to see our life together. We are Jaqual. Commander Maltese and I are Antarian comrades on Antares. We are in the constellation of Scorpio serving as the defenders of this quadrant. I, Captain Jaqual, speak to you from the timeline of my warrior days. In Scorpio, we hold similar energy fields as the planet Pluto in your star system. There were no more questions from me or messages from Jaqual until April 28, 1997. Captain Jaqual here. Yes, you have heard our call today. It is time now that you become conscious of my reality. Commander Maltese has already reminded you of our Antarian energy to prepare you for our meeting. Your reality as Suzil has been very different than mine, which is also yours. I am a warrior here, but I have retired from active duty. I recently have entered a temple where I can focus my attention on my inner life. Interestingly, I just moved out of my office a few days ago, and for the first time in 40 years I am working from my home. Why? Because the Arcturians told me that I needed to create a simpler, calmer life so that I could meditate, walk on the beach, do yoga, relax, and garden in my yard and commune with the elementals. I was told that this situation would be like studying in the temples, which I did in other lives. In those lives it was mine now to focus on my inner life and higher expressions of self. For some reason I did not get to this part of the story until I was moved out of my office and prepared to focus on my inner life. Back to Jaqual. My life exists in a different timeline than yours and I resonate in an entirely different area of space. For most of my life, however, I was too busy battling the enemy to deeply look inside. I was a warrior for 50 of your Earth years. That seems like a long time to you, but we Antarians have much longer lives. We usually live about 150 to 200 of your Earth years. We Antaries are usually fifth dimensional, but the warriors and the parents resonate to the third dimension when working, and go home to the fourth dimension. The parents bring their new life down from the higher dimensions to begin their time and form in third dimensional form. We function this way so that our children will be strongly rooted in a physical form to be able to procreate and be protectors of our quadrant of space. It is similar to your salmon that leave their natural salt water to spawn in the fresh water. Antares is a center for multidimensional awakening. We keep our third dimensional reality alive and active even though we could all raise our frequency above it. The reason that we do so is because we first colonized this area to assist in protecting those around us, as well as your world, from the Orion Draconians. What the Draconians have mastered with technologically, we have mastered with our minds. Since we serve as protectors, at least until the end of your great cycle, we have a strong warrior class. The leaders of our societies, as well as most of its citizens, resonate to the fourth and fifth dimension. Almost all of us, male and female, have spent at least 30 years in service as a warrior. I spent 50 years as a warrior, which is common only for the officers. Women are trained right along with men and are totally equal in all military actions. On the other hand, men are not totally equal in the conception and child care department. One does not become a parent until after their service as a protector has been fulfilled. We warriors use the word protector rather than soldier. We do not fight because we are told to or because we want to gain power and conquest. We fight only to protect our people and our way of life. Not all people on Antares become parents. In fact, less than 10% actually mate and give birth. However, almost everyone is actively involved in the raising of the young. Persons must go through a major initiation to become parents, much as is on Arcturus. However, we do not choose parents by aura color, as they do on Arcturus, but rather by initiation. The initiation for parenthood takes 3 years. One must be a master in multidimensional awareness before they can be a parent. This mastery is best described by saying that a master can expand their vibration from the third to the seventh dimension of Oversoul. Also, they are able to open the channel to consciously being aware of all of these dimensions at once. This expansion of consciousness and awareness is a great feat and the reason why only 10% of our people are parents. In order to become a parent, 2 harmoniously matched souls raise their vibration into the Oversoul and invite a spark of life to enter our Antarian world. They then walk that spark down through each dimension and plant him/her in the female's third dimensional form. The temple that I will soon enter is the one which teaches us to be parents. I feel that since I have taken so many lives that it is my best service now to bring in new ones. Couples usually only have 1 child. It takes 3 years to prepare, only 30% of those who enter the initiation complete it, and then another 3 years to walk the soul down into the third dimension. Then for 3 more years, the parents completely dedicate themselves to the raising of the child. At the end of 3 years the child has become an adult and joins the society. They usually study for about 30 years and then join the military. As you can see, most parents are about 60 years old before they are able to begin the process of preparing for parenthood. However, since all parents have mastered multidimensional awareness, they usually live to be at least 300 years old. Some live to be 400. The last 100 years of their lives is usually spent in assisting others to become multidimensional. Once one is multidimensional, death is just a change of octaves. There are, of course, others who die in battle, but this gives them a boost to at least the 6th dimension. Their lives are shorter, but their journey into the 7th dimension is easier. In our world, all individuation processes, or individual lives as you would say, originate in the 7th dimensional oversoul. We are asked to leave the oversoul by our parents when we are sparks of light. Then we must return to the oversoul before we can again take another incarnation on Antares or an Arcturian world or starship. The Arcturians and Antarians realities are both multidimensional in nature. We both focus on assisting people, planets, and star systems to embrace their multidimensional essence to ascend back to their oversoul self. Those who find this process of raising their vibration back into the 7th dimension too difficult, often incarnate on other planets and star systems. They may also choose a different version of reality for variety of experience. Almost 3 months passed before our next communication. I cannot remember why I stayed away. In 1997 I likely doubted myself and wondered if I was a bit crazy. Also, because the Arcturians had been telling me to start a website since about 1994, I had finally started my Multidimensions site in 1996. July 1, 1997. Dear Captain Jaqual, I was feeling you very much today while I was working out. I heard that you could assist me in being a warrior and, after reading your last message, I realized that you can greatly assist me in my process of becoming multidimensional. I do not think there is any temple on earth to teach me those things. Perhaps you could share with me what you are learning in your temple experience. Dearest Suzil, I can definitely assist you with the mastery of your physical habits and programming. The ability to truly be multidimensional is what allows you to gain mastery of third-dimensional issues and challenges. I can also assist you to rise above your fear. When one is able to raise their vibration to a dimension above their fear, they have entered their mastery training. That is part of the reason why my people have chosen to be warriors. A warrior must learn to face the fear inside of themselves. Once that fear is confronted and conquered, then they can raise themselves into their higher vibrational self. July 23, 1997. Dear Jaqual, I have felt your call over the last couple of days. I feel like I am finally ready to hear your story. I have avoided it because I knew it was about fear, and I have always had a problem with facing my fear. I am ready now to totally release that problem and live in my courage. Suzil, I am happy to hear that you are now ready to be the warrior that you have always been. You have been afraid because you were frightened as a very small child and were unable to communicate that fear to anyone to ask them for protection and comfort. That fear has maintained a hold on your unconscious for most of your life. As you now understand, everything that happened was part of your divine plan to awaken to the memory of your higher self. If you had gotten the comfort that you needed in your physical world, you may not have gone deep and high enough into your multidimensional self to find the protection and comfort that you needed. Now in these closing chapters of your physical incarnations, you must clear your unconscious of unnecessary fear. We say unnecessary because we do not want you to erase all fear. Fear in itself is not your enemy. Fear only becomes your enemy when the messages it has given you remain after their purpose has been served. Yes, think of fear as a messenger. It is a messenger that is telling you to be aware and careful. Without fear you could not survive in the third dimension where there are many dangers. Therefore, when I tell my story, remember that fear is actually our friend. Fear's purpose is to warn and protect. It is the memory and threat of fear that is the enemy. If past fears cannot be released, they become a heavier and heavier burden. Also, if you do not trust that the appropriate warnings will come at the necessary time, then there is fear of the future. Fear from the past is the message that is gone and fear of the future is the message that has not yet arrived. When you can live in total trust of and surrender to your higher self, You'll be able to release all old fears into your higher vibrations where they can be transmuted back to light and love. You will also trust that all your warnings will be timely and lead you in the direction that will always afford you the greatest protection. We learned these lessons on Antares, and they are the lessons that allowed us to learn how to raise our vibration into our higher dimensional selves. Please remember that I am translating my words into English for you to better understand. Also, I am not of your timeline. Therefore, as I perceive you, I experienced all of your lives in one package, like a book. I can look at any portion out of sequence or even change the sequence. It is the same manner in which you can perceive my life. This is why you have often felt confusion about what the timelines of our Antarian lives. To your perception, I am in all these eras at once, and you can view any time frame you wish. I am a young lieutenant, your term, at the same moment that I am an older man. Perhaps as you learn and remember more of our Antarian life, you will be able to embrace our mode of multidimensional perception. Then you may even be able to remember and understand more Antarian concepts. I will begin my story where it left off in your meditation. Do you remember? No, I do not remember. I am standing in front of the door of the Temple of Return. I have always considered myself to be a very large man, even by Antarian standards. It is quite normal for a man to be 8 feet tall, and many of the women are 7 or even 8 feet tall, as well. I am 9.5 feet according to your earthly measurements, and always stand with my head above most crowds. As I stand before the doors of remembering at the Temple of Return, I feel very small. There is a series of doorways without doors leading to the actual door. Each of these doorways emanates a different vibration. Therefore, each doorway is a different color and emits a different tone. I feel a pull on my body as I stand before the first threshold. I have been instructed that as I cross each threshold and stand in the hallway before the next doorway, I will experience different lessons and challenges. These lessons and challenges need to be cleared and balanced before I can proceed to the next threshold. I will continue with my story in our next meeting. Remember to call me into your daily life. Jaqual. Channeled by Suzanne Lee. SuzanneLeePhD.blogspot.com